It's me, it's Queen Osetharu, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. So, I told you guys that I had a surprise today. To come back as I had a surprise. Okay, so what happened was I wanted to go get a new tattoo. And I wasn't sure where my tattoo artist moved to because he moved the studio. And I was like, ah, shit. So I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to go or not. So I did get to go. I got the address. I found my tattoo artist and I got a tattoo. So I wanted to show it to you guys. If you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you've already seen it. But if not, this is your first chance to see my new tattoo. All right, so let me try to get the camera right, okay, guys? At the very top of it, it says always. And then let's go down. It's a pretty large tattoo. It is the good Professor Snape. Hope you guys can see it good. It's not too bad. It's still kind of red and raised and swollen, but it is healing rather quickly for something I just got put on yesterday. So that is my new tattoo. It is Professor Snape with always on top. And I got it specifically on this arm so I could look at it. My other favorite tattoo, I can't look at because it's on my shoulder. It's all the way up here. So I wanted one that I could actually look at whenever I felt like it, right? So that's the new tattoo, Professor Snape. All right, so now let's get to today's topic. Today's topic is a pretty heavy one, and I don't know how it's going to go. So let's just go for it. This is today's topic. A woman who is a Leo sent me a message, and she said her mother is an Aquarius. Now, can you imagine having a dark, toxic Aquarius as a mother? Yeah. And depending upon how dark, oh my God. So she said that her mother is a Aquarius. They have a toxic relationship, and she wanted me to tell her what's my advice for dealing with this toxic mother. Now, many of you know that I pretty much struggle with both my parents. My mother is a Capricorn, and while she did the best that she could for us, she and I don't have a good relationship. We never have. I look a lot like my father, and I think that was a big problem for her. And I think that if I had a child who looked just like their father and I wasn't particularly fond of him and still hurt by what happened with him, that could be difficult for some people. And so we never had a very good relationship. And my father was an Aquarius and he was, off in the wind somewhere doing him. So I didn't really grow up feeling like I had a parental unit. I grew up feeling like an orphan. My mother did her best to keep us in a good home, clean and, nice clothes. We went to Catholic school. We had nice toys. And she did her best in those ways, which is what a Capricorn knows to do. But emotionally speaking, I never had a relationship with her. I could never trust her. You know how when you go through your teenage years and you confide in your mom about what's going on and what's bothering you, she would then go tell my business to her sisters and laugh about it on the phone. And that may not have seemed like a big deal to her or her sisters and brothers, but it was very hurtful to me and gave me the message that I couldn't trust her. And I grew up with the message that she preferred my sister because she looked like her, whereas I looked like my father. So I grew up with a lot of painful messages, and I grew up very alone because she did prefer my sister. And until my little brother, who came into my life when I was 10, my little brother was adopted from my aunt. So he's technically my cousin, but I mean, we raised him. I raised him basically. Me and my mom raised him. So I could never see him as like a cousin. He's that little baby that was always there. So that's another long story because I just adore my brother. But the bottom line is that until he was born, I grew up very alone. I grew up with nobody to confide in, nobody to trust. I couldn't trust my mom. I couldn't trust my sister. I had my friends, and that was like the only kindness, the only energy I got was from my friends. I had a friend down the street. I had a friend at school, and being around them and sometimes their families was the only kindness I really got. It was the only empathy. It was the only closeness I really got. And when I went home, it was just devoid of that. And some of you have a similar situation or a worse situation. Some of you have a worse situation because you didn't know your mother at all. Maybe she died, maybe she was a drug addict. And some of you had a mother that was even more abusive. You didn't have things to eat. We ate every day. Pretty good too, as you can see. That's one thing. My mom fed us. She cooked amazing meals. She baked cakes and cookies and made puddings and all kinds of stuff. She did the best that she could with what she had, which is why I still pay homage to her now, even though I feel so much hurt because I never could be close to her. I never could trust her. My love for her always had to be with conditions on it because she was always going to do something fucked up. She's always going to say something fucked up. And my brother and my sister, they just accept it. They accept the abuse, quite frankly. My mother is verbally and emotionally abusive. That's the bottom line. And my sister and my brother accept the abuse and just say that's how she is. My brother gets mad sometimes and cusses her out. But my sister and him pretty much just say that's how she is. My brother always says, Queen, you can't pick your family. But I can pick what influences I allow in my life. I can pick how much abuse I take from someone. I can choose that if I take any at all, quite frankly. And when it's your lover, when it's your friends, and they fuck up, you can kick them to the curb and ghost and keep it moving. But when it's your mom, and your mom is toxic, the person you're supposed to be able to be closest to, is toxic towards you. It's one thing if your mom is just a toxic person, just a bitch, but it's another thing when she's that way towards you, when she's abusive towards you, when she says mean things to you, when she's never supportive of you. My mother to this day is never verbally, emotionally supportive. People will tell me, oh, I saw your mom and she's so proud of you. And I'd be like, huh? When? When was this, She might say that to other people, but that's not the message between us. So what do I do about it? I pay homage. Those of you who have a mom that gives any love at all, I would say pay homage to that. How do I pay homage to it? I call her sometimes, here and there. I send her gifts. I send her things, gift cards, things like that. I'm grateful and appreciative for what she did give me because I know a lot of people got way less. And that's how I pay homage to it. That's the best I can do. And to protect myself, I stay away from her. I don't spend a lot of time around her to protect my energy, to protect my emotions, to not be upset all the time, crying all the time. My mother really upsets me. She really does. So to not be in that space, I just limit the time that I am around her. And that's the best way to keep the peace between everybody. So if you have this type of mom, you have a toxic type of mother, ideally it would be wonderful if you can go to family therapy. and work through it. But that almost never happens because most of the time, the mother or the child or both of them have such a wound that they can't even work through it. My mother and I tried therapy, but it turned into just fighting sessions. It didn't get us anywhere. I was young when we tried. I was like 13, but didn't get us anywhere. So I was never really keen on doing it again. So what can I say about healing a mother wound? You are in charge of healing the wound that is inside of you because there is a wound there. And you were in charge of healing it and you were in charge of dealing with it. You know, you were in charge of doing your own self help, your own therapy, your own healing, and coming to terms with the best you can do. What I do with her is the best I can do. Some other people may not be able to do that. You have to do what's best for you because I don't know how toxic your mom is. I don't know if she's as toxic as mine or less or more, you know, but you have to do what's best for you. I would say pay homage if you can, if there's anything to pay homage to, you know, in the ways that I talked about, and keep yourself safe from staying away from that abusive energy because people can't abuse you when you're not around. That's the one thing I did learn. They can't fuck with you when you ain't around, you know? And I want to tell you something else. A long time ago, I used to watch this show called American Horror Story. I loved American Horror Story. Coven, the season with Coven, I loved it. And one of my favorite character was the Supreme because she reminded me of myself. Her behavior, like, you know, her being the head of the coven reminded me of myself because at the time I was the head of a coven. But also her relationship with her daughter reminded me of my relationship with my mom, but it was the flip. And one day, Fiona Good told her daughter, the Supreme told her daughter, I loved you plenty. But it just wasn't the version of motherhood that you wanted. And I thought about my mother, and I was like, I do think she loved me to the best of her ability. It just wasn't the version of motherhood that I needed or I wanted. Because I do believe that we make a soul contract. That when we come here, we make a soul contract. And part of our contract is who our parents are going to be. And I believe that we choose our parents based on the soul lessons we need to learn. So I think that I chose her. I think I chose her because I needed to be fierce. I needed to be independent. All of the things that I am are because of the kind of mom she was. Because of how she was, I became a certain kind of way. And I think those were the soul lessons. So if you're struggling with your relationship with your mom, if you're a daughter or a son, that's the first thing I pick up on is I think that we pick these lessons so we can become a certain kind of way. After I finish doing this video, I'm going to link a healing the mother wound video I watched right before I did this video. Because it's a great podcast right out here on YouTube. And I encourage you to do things like that. Watch podcasts like that. Read books about healing the mother wound. It's not a fast process, but at least you can get to the point where it's not aching you. Because I remember times in my life when it was very distressing. And one time when it was the most distressing, I was praying. I was praying to Goddess, and I was so upset. My mother had done some unthinkable thing. Again. It seemed like she's always, and still does shit, you know. If it was just old shit, I would be over it. But she still does shit. And I'm like, oh, not again. So here go another thing she did. And I was praying, and I was crying, and hanging my head. And Goddess said to me, I heard her so loud. She said, I am your real mother. And I am always here, and I have always been here. And it shook me. It shook me to the bone. And ever since then, I depended on Goddess as my mother. That's why I'm so devout, and I'm so, into my goddess energy and working with the goddess, because she is my mother. She is that nurturing mother that I always wanted. She's that loving mother that I was hoping for. She's the version of motherhood I wanted. So I'm grateful for what my human mother did give me, and I depend on my spiritual mother for everything else. I know a lot of you are in this space, and we're coming up on Mother's Day, and a lot of people go through a lot of changes on Mother's Day because of this. And I want all of you motherless daughters, or you daughters who have painful relationships, or you motherless sons, I want you all to know that even if your mother was less than the version that you wanted or needed, that there's still great love in this universe for you. You can find other supports. You can depend on your creator. So you can heal that, and you also can be happy and get that emotional, spiritual energy from another place. Maybe your mom doesn't have it, and maybe she never will, but it's there. And you can get it from other supports. You can get it from other places. So to my motherless children out there, no matter what your age is, remember the things I've said and try some of them, because that's what keeps me in a good space. That's what keeps me from not hurting, because that's a wound that can continue to hurt your whole life. And that's what keeps me from being stuck in that wound. The things that I just talked about. Leo, I hope that helps, baby. I'll see you guys later. Because today is the day I get to go see Endgame. So I'm going to get out of here. So listen up. If you would like to, let me see. If you would like to get a tarot reading, please email me for an appointment. If you have a question for Asking Aquarius, you can leave it underneath this video, or you can email that to me as well. If you would like to send me a love donation or a gift, I'll leave my wish list and my PayPal. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you know somebody who's struggling with this, send them this video and tell them I send my love. Okay? See you later.